Ah, Cannes. Chic home to the film festival and its coveted Palme d'Or. This lovely French Riviera hamlet was the perfect starting point for our 7-night trek through azure seas and golden sands with star clippers. I'll let myself continue with the intro. Bonjour from Cannes. This is Peter Knego for Midship Cinema and QuirkyCruise.com. Behind me is the Star Clipper, my home for the next week, as she takes us along the French Riviera and to Corsica. As of August 2022, Star Clippers was requiring proof of vaccination and provided a quick pre-boarding antigen test for all guests. Once cleared, we were led to a small dock area at Cannes' Quai de Large to board a tender that would shuttle us off to our air-conditioned ship. Once we got going, that soothing sea breeze provided some relief from the searing summer heat wave. Even those who don't covet cruise ships can appreciate the fetching profile of the sleek 2,298 gross ton, 170 guest Star Clipper. After embarking, we were greeted with a cool libation by stellar hotel manager Ernesto, and then shown to our cabin 117, a Category 3 outside on midship's Commodore deck. Category 3s measure 118 square feet and feature a polished brass porthole and beds that are tall enough to fit normal-sized luggage underneath. Its warm wood tones mesh nicely with the blue and gold soft fittings. The compact bathrooms harken to the old ferry days with a built-in shower recess that is only separated by a curtain. Provided amenities include body wash, shampoo, and hand lotion. We were among the lucky first to board and took advantage of the near-empty ship to document the public areas. As you can see, Star Clipper has freshly scrubbed teak decks and 2 waiting pools, one forward and one aft. The sheltered Tropic Bar on main deck is the hub of activities. Just aft is the lovely library with its early 20th century inspired decor. And this is a forward-facing view of the Tropic Bar, which continues inside with the enclosed and terraced piano bar. A petite grand staircase leads down from the piano bar to the dining room, which can accommodate all guests in one leisurely seating. Tufted velvet booth-style seating features brass portholes that provide lovely views. In the buffet area, attached to the mizzenmast, is the ship's 1992 Belgian builder's plate. Directly aft of the dining room, there's the shop, which offers up pricey souvenirs and clothing. The shop adjoins the purser's office, and that's basically the gist of Star Clipper, but we'll provide much more detail in our deck tour. And we just finished lifeboat drill. Boat drill consisted of watching a video in the cabin and donning a life jacket at our muster station, which was conveniently next to the 4 p.m. afternoon snacks. The daily dinner and wine choices are displayed in the piano bar, and dinner is a full-service affair with starters and salads, soups, entrees, and desserts. After dinner that evening with Star Clipper at anchor, we gathered on the fantail as Cannes Harbor filled with yachts and boats of all shapes and size. It so happened that Cannes was hosting an international fireworks competition, which was easily one of the most impressive I have ever seen. This is just a small segment of the grand spectacle that we were treated to. For my fellow movie buffs, the only thing missing was Cary Grant, Grace Kelly, and a diamond necklace. We slept in the next morning, then headed to the dining room to begin our daily ritual of an egg dish and, most importantly, a fresh brewed cappuccino. At 10:30, following another safety drill in the Tropic Bar, the Belgian captain welcomed us on board and introduced the officers and staff. Nearing the shores of Liguria, we enjoyed our first clamber into the prow net.
This is one of the most unique cruising experiences out there, to actually be in the bowsprit net overlooking the sea.
Off in the distance, it looked like someone parked an apartment building in front of lovely Portofino. Nope, it was just Celebrity Cruises' Celebrity Edge. We tendered ashore past the billion-dollar ship, which is a mere 57 times larger than Star Clipper. You never know who you might run into in picture postcard perfect Portofino. This oligarchish yacht, for instance, was carrying Rod Stewart. Meanwhile, a slightly less glamorous local ferry whisked us off past our mothership to the other side of the peninsula. We disembarked in tiny San Frutuoso, which can only be reached by boat or mountain hike. Home to a stony beach with azure blue water and a 13th century abbey, it's where we began our 3-mile trek back over the peninsula to Portofino. A pair of goats and several lizards were encountered as we joined fellow San Diegan guests, Carl and Jen, up the dusty switchbacks. Also present were thousands of unseen cicadas who provided an eerie sci-fi soundtrack that somehow synced up with the myriad sea reflections. Just past the midway point, we stopped to get some much-needed inspiration from the spectacular view. On the Portofino side, we walked past family farms and vegetable gardens and had a distant view of the Star Clipper. On the tender ride back, all I could think about was re-immersing myself in the ship's air conditioning. Meanwhile, the starboard side of the departing edge showed off its magic carpet, a platform that scales the side of the ship. Interesting engineering and dynamics for sure, but this view was far more pleasing to the eye. After a nice dinner that evening, our waiter Marlin mesmerized our table with a toothpick-enhanced feat of engineering. We were still trying to figure out how he did that trick when we headed up to deck to watch the sails unfurl to the soaring soundtrack of Vangelis's 1492 Conquest of Paradise. The haunting song is played at departure time aboard all Star Clipper's ships. The next morning, Mike had signed up for the mast climb, but was far too down the list for this session. From my perspective on the deck below, one of the French guests, midway through her climb, looked like a fly caught in a giant spider web. I do have to tip my hat to people like my colleague Laura Canary, who made it look so easy, but heights just aren't my thing.
I need good balance.
I was far more content just looking upwards from the bowsprit net as I dangled over a surging sea. In my book, nothing could beat that experience. With the smoking terrain of Corsica in our sights, looking oh so California-esque, Kirby hosted a dance class in the Tropic Bar. At lunch, which is offered buffet style, I fueled up on a fresh salad topped with capers, my version of caviar. In L'Île Rousse, our first Corsican stop, Star Clipper actually berthed versus anchoring, donning sunblock and beach towels, as well as masks and snorkels provided by the ship, we headed ashore. From the ship, which was framed in that ominously smoky backdrop, we made the short trek past a Corsican version of The Little Mermaid to the local beach. By the looks of it, Cherbourg has nothing on Corsica as far as umbrellas are concerned. After swimming and snorkeling in the clear, refreshing water, we walked through the old town on our way back to the Star Clipper. Shortly after departure, the captain made a special announcement. As Star Clipper unfurled her sails, guests headed to the tenders for the ultimate photo op. For those who love beautiful ships, this is a highlight of most Star Clipper voyages. The only catch was trying to please all 240 anxious elbows dangling from both sides of the two tenders. Fortunately, when we were on the wrong side, we had beautiful Corsica to film. But when we were on the right side, even when the lighting was no longer in favor, it was all oohs and ahs. And then once all the sails were fully unfurled, members of the staff stood proudly on the bowsprit. Cheers to those with grace and balance. After one more pose, it was all aboard, just in time for dinner. Another balmy night on deck followed, along with a lively music quiz that crescendoed with some impressive Elvis-inspired moves. Perhaps it was the jet lag, but I found myself up far too early the following morning. So I took advantage of something the captain said earlier in the cruise and headed up topsides to enjoy the ship in the golden morning light. It was also a perfect chance to walk from the bowsprit to the fantail without navigating a sea of people. Oh, and by the way, we're a little more than halfway through this video, so please allow me to ask that if you are enjoying it, please don't forget to hit like, and most importantly, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe. Thank you. Oh, and just one more thing. If you're a fan of cruising on small ships like the Star Clipper, please visit quirkycruise.com for the latest on this and other small ship cruises.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Okay, well, in order not to barge in on the morning yoga session, I didn't quite make it to the fantail, but I'm sure you get the idea. During breakfast, Star Clipper made her approach to the anchorage off Calvi. Soon we were tendering ashore to the scenic Corsican village with a crescent-shaped bay and a 13th century citadel built by the Genoese. We took in some great views from the ramparts that even the pigeons seemed to appreciate. At the top, there was a 17th century church of Saint Jean Baptiste, but by that time, our needs were more basic. Nearby, we settled in at a friendly cafe with one of the best pizza margaritas ever, which we doused in local chili olive oil and Parmesan. My daily salad ritual would have to take a back seat that afternoon.
You don't have to get the whole piece of being cut.
Sated by our feast, we walked back through the village and through fresh produce stands to the marina where we got the tender. I would return for a run on the beautiful local beach. Then it was back to the ship one final time, where Mike took out one of the sailcraft and I swam alongside the ship. And at 4:30 that afternoon, Mike's turn to climb the mast was up, so up he went. For those like me who will never experience this view in person, he took this shot. And this view is from only 1/4 the height of Star Clipper's 208-foot masts, which are among the tallest of any ship afloat. At 1900, Star Clipper was on her way to our next Corsican hamlet. Dinner was highlighted by a prismatic sunset, and since it was pirate night, a roving band of pirates. A festive pirate night show was held in the Tropic Bar, but we stole away for some time on the fantail for a view of the sails and the stars. Right after breakfast, we were tendering ashore for an expedition ship-style beach landing at remote Plage Saint-Antoine, our last Corsican stop. This was an ideal place for a full beach day, which included a snorkel over patches of magnificent coral-colored sands. That afternoon, guests were able to participate in manually hoisting the sails as Star Clipper began her northbound trek towards the French Riviera. I relished the soothing breeze on deck and a chance to revel in the beauty of our tall ship underway. In the piano bar before dinner, there was some great music by Kirby Cabonce, aka Curves, who was kind enough to allow me to use his music for this video. And after dinner, a beautiful light show illuminated the sails. By the sixth day, we were definitely settling into our morning routines. Yoga on deck for Mike, and a cappuccino made by Alejandro in the piano bar for both of us.
Thank you, Alejandro.
Thank you.
All right.
At 10 a.m., Star Clipper anchored off Cavalaire-sur-Mer, a pleasant French Riviera town a few kilometers west of Saint Tropez. After tendering ashore, we took a run from the marina along the beach and back before returning to the ship. As soon as we got back to the ship, we donned bathing suits and jumped into the clear waters off the starboard side for a cooling swim. Later, we enjoyed the view from the fantail as Star Clipper meandered in the Med. Our day in the sun was a perfect ante for the festive crew and passenger talent show hosted by our multilingual cruise director, Carlos, that followed dinner. At one point, Carlos even got into the act.
Baby, through is only you know how. Swing is smooth, swing it now.
And that's Marlon, our waiter with the tricks and the moves on the front left. The next morning, as the yachts grew bigger, we knew we were closing in on Saint Tropez. Our last full day began with the tender ride to Plage Pampelon, a beach that is literally around the peninsula from the famed French resort. While I don't even know if Bain de Soleil still exists, as a teen, I often daydreamt about getting that Saint Tropez tan. What a fitting final beach stop before Star Clipper made the short run to her last and quite possibly most splendid port of call, Saint Tropez. For my fellow Sparks brothers and sisters, you know who you are. Saint Tropez is the birthplace of Lil Beethoven's Miss Missy Tannenbaum. For the world at large, it's the resort made famous by Brigitte Bardot and Roger Vadim. I was expecting to be put off by Saint Tropez's excesses. Instead, I was seduced by its charm and even found a yacht to love, the exquisite 1938-built Bluebird. After time on the waterfront, we spent that afternoon exploring the pastel stucco-lined cobblestone streets. There is just so much beauty to ogle in this compact, surprisingly friendly place. All too soon, we were tendering back to the Star Clipper, which was literally basking in the golden light. Most of our fellow guests were still ashore, so we enjoyed a quiet dinner, packed, and called it a night. The next morning, we disembarked in Cannes as Star Clipper got ready for her next cruise. Well, if you made it this far, I certainly hope you enjoyed this romp. Thank you so much for joining me, and please stay tuned for our full-decked top-to-bottom tour of the Star Clipper.